Today, we're going to talk about a really powerful cultural shift, one that's happening so quietly you might not even notice it. It's all about a fundamental change in how we build our identity, especially for men. So let's dig in and explore what's really going on.
This quote really gets to the core of what we're exploring. The idea here isn't that masculinity is vanishing. No, it's that something way more subtle is happening. It's being fundamentally redesigned, and the forces doing the redesigning, well, they're the things we interact with every single day.
All right, first up, a quiet redesign. To really get a grip on this whole thing, we've got to start with what is actually happening and the engine that's driving it all, our attention.
So this right here is a huge shift. We tend to think that our actions are guided by some kind of internal compass, our values or beliefs. But a new model is taking over, one where what we do is shaped less by what we believe and more by what gets a reaction, what gets rewarded online.
And this is what that looks like in the real world, right? The spotlight isn't on being authentic, it's on whatever grabs attention. And that often means we see these specific masks or personas getting amplified. You've got the super exaggerated one, the self-deprecating one, even the submissive one. The key thing to see here is that the reward isn't for being real, it's for being effective at grabbing just a tiny slice of someone's focus. Now this is where it gets really interesting. This brings us to our second section, the repetition loop. Because a performance doesn't just stay a performance, does it? Let's break down the slightly unnerving process of how an act you put on for others can become who you actually are.
So how does this happen? It seems to unfold in 4 pretty clear stages. First, it's just repetition. You do something, you play a part over and over again. All that repetition creates a sense of familiarity. Then, once something feels familiar, our brains naturally start to move towards acceptance. It just feels normal. And the final step? What we accept as normal starts to become our identity. It just weaves itself right into our sense of self.
And the most important part to grasp is that this usually isn't some big, conscious choice. It's a subtle conditioning. It's this quiet, unconscious process where the mask you put on for the world, slowly, almost without you noticing, becomes your actual face. The performance becomes the person. So that leads us to our third section, a deeper tension. Why is this performance-based identity so common right now? Well, to answer that, we have to zoom out and look at the wider culture, at what some people are calling a role vacuum for men today. At the very heart of this, there seems to be this core conflict. When there's no clear socially accepted space for men to just directly express what they're feeling, the mind gets creative. It adapts. It finds a workaround. And instead of expressing a feeling, it learns to perform a role that gets a reaction. Performance becomes the substitute for real expression. This comparison really nails that tension. On one side, you have these traditional roles, strength, responsibility, that have become weaker or just aren't as clear anymore. But on the other side, and this is the problem, no stable, clear alternative has really stepped up to take their place. And that leaves this kind of identity void. And that void leads to a really fundamental question for a lot of men. If the old maps are gone and the old signposts are crumbling, where exactly do you stand now? What do you anchor yourself to? And when that huge question doesn't have a clear answer, the mind doesn't just wait around, it can actually start to fragment. It might create different versions of itself, one that's desperate for validation, another that shoves down discomfort, and a third that's always performing for an audience. And that creates a really unstable foundation for who you are. And here's how that loop just gets tighter and tighter. By constantly chasing these external rewards, the likes, the shares, the approval, the result isn't freedom, it's the exact opposite. All that validation we get from the outside builds an internal dependency on needing more of it. So, this brings us to our final section, understanding versus reaction. Okay, we've explored the problem, so where does that leave us? It feels like this new world presents us with a really fundamental choice in how we build our identity. But before we go any further, it's really important we define a key term here. When we talk about real strength in this context, we're not talking about physical force or being dominant. We're talking about an internal state, a kind of stability of mind, a directness, a wholeness. It's about clarity, not just capability. This really brings it all home. Maybe the change itself isn't the issue. The real question, the crucial one, is how this change is happening. Is our sense of self being formed consciously through real understanding, or is it being formed reactively, just as a knee-jerk response to all these external pressures and rewards? And you can see the two paths laid out so clearly here. On the left, you've got an identity built on reaction. It's unstable. It's totally dependent on shifting trends and what other people think. But on the right,
An identity built through understanding is stable. It's grounded in your own clear perception. It creates internal clarity, not external dependency.
So where does this leave us? In the face of this huge wave of change, it seems like there are three options. We can resist it, try to cling to the past. We can just submit to it and let it wash over us. Or there's a third path, not to fight it or give into it, but to simply understand the forces at play, both outside of us and, more importantly, inside our own minds.
And that leaves us with a final question to think about. Maybe the issue isn't really about finding the right role for men at all. Maybe the real work is to just notice our own mind's deep habits of chasing approval and running from discomfort. Because if we don't see that clearly, doesn't any role we pick up, whether it's old or new, just become another trap, another form of dependence?